Sports Podcast.
Welcome to the All Sports Podcast with me, Matt, and today, Joel. Hi, Joel.
Hey, Matt.
And James. How are you, James?
Hello, guys. How are we doing?
All good. Pretty good here, thank you.
Yeah, I'm all good. I'm post-move. I'm sick of building furniture. There's a coffee table with my name on it waiting to be built, and I can't face another one. So it's going to stay in its box for a few more days.
You need something good. This is going to segue so quickly into the podcast. You need something good to be watching on a screen in the background whilst you're building, and it makes it so much easier.
It will be, but I am slightly concerned that I am mateless going into the opening weekend of the Euros. I'm just like, anyone's got to want to go for a beer on Sunday and watching them play. But so far, no good.
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about England playing, and if you actually want to go and watch them a little bit later on the podcast, but we'll start off with what's already happened. So recapping over the weekend, we had the F1 in Canada and also the Rugby Premiership final. So we'll touch on that before we preview the US Open Golf, the third major of the year, the penultimate one. They're coming thick and fast, it feels like, at Pinehurst. So we'll preview that. And also the Euros. So we did a nice little deep dive on the Euros last week. If you haven't heard it yet, listen back. But yeah, we'll drill into that as England have finished their warm-ups now and have now arrived in Germany. So we'll dig into that before Euros begins this weekend. So F1 in Canada. James, you've put on the board best race of the season. Was it just because of the weather conditions, or what do you think?
I'm going best weather. It would have been nice for someone who wasn't Max Verstappen to win it. I think that would have really made it the best race. But like over the race, there was three different cars that were the fastest. Like you had the Mercedes, the McLaren, and the Red Bull, and obviously it was changeable. So there was times where it was in between wet and dry, where the McLarens were flying. The wet Max looked pretty good, and then in the dry towards the ends, the Mercedes cars were flying. It was just a great race. Had everything you possibly wanted. And apart from a victory that wasn't Max Verstappen.
I don't mind like Max winning was fine because George Russell qualified for Mercedes fastest and looked great. The McLarens looked really solid. So the upgrades, me and you have been speaking, James, specifically on the pods for the last few weeks about the upgrades. And it looks like Mercedes upgrades have now landed. And George said in I don't know if it was a quality interview, but I saw him and Lando in an interview. And Lando looked a bit shocked when George said, with our upgrades, we've leapfrogged up the pecking order. So they're either the second or fastest team in their book. And they looked at, and in qualifying, he actually made that statement and qualified first. But yeah, like for me, I don't mind Verstappen winning if he's not fastest in every single segment of the weekend. Yeah,
I agree. But I'd also say that Mercedes go through a purple patch every year where they look great at some tracks, and then next week they could be 5 or 6 tenths off again. Christian Horner was saying that since this track at Canada had just been resurfaced, that's the kind of track that would probably suit Mercedes. And they only really focusing on Ferrari and Red Bull Ferrari and McLaren over the full season. So he doesn't seem to think it's that great. It was just great to see a bit of mix in there for once.
Russell is super bullish about the car, though. Feels different. Like he's talking really positively about how fast the car is and how it's performing.
Yeah, he was. I think, this weekend again, he made 2 or 3 really big mistakes when he was chasing a win. Which isn't the first time it's happened. Like he crashed out in the final lap at Singapore. He probably should have won on Sunday. He led. He had like a 5 or 6 second lead at one point. And then, it's just these mistakes keep creeping in at the wrong time for him. If he really wants to go and become you want to win 13, 14 races in a year like you need to do to win a title, he needs to cut that sort of mistake out.
Mm-hmm. Why is he getting so much more out of the car than Hamilton is at the moment?
It depends who you speak to about it. There's always a thing that he'll be prioritised now. Hamilton's leaving. I don't buy into the whole conspiracy theory that they're messing with Hamilton's car. I just think he won't get the upgrades. He won't get the priority being looked after for pits and tyre information, because why would he? He's leaving.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's definitely driving that car pretty well. I would say, like, I still think that McLaren are probably better than Mercedes. I think McLaren have got the rocket ship of the car at the moment. I'm just not.
Yeah.
Lando's great, don't get me wrong, but I feel like he should be winning more races with the car that he has now. And again, he got a little bit screwed over by the safety car on Sunday. I think he had after the round of pits, he had something like a 30-second lead. And because the safety car picked him up at a certain point, he then had to follow safety car pace. So he came out after he pitted behind Verstappen, which ultimately ruined his race.
Yeah, I think the Lewis Hamilton leaving stuff's really interesting because how much information do you share with a driver that's leaving in half a season's time that's going away to one of your main competitors? In any other business, there's obviously like what's it?
There is, I think, in Formula One,
you know exactly what I'm talking about when I say what's it.
They get shut out. Drivers usually do, but I from the stories that come out, Mercedes aren't doing that probably for two reasons. Hamilton already knows everything about the next regs Mercedes, and they'll probably value his input for this car. They'll learn from him by having him around. So yeah, it doesn't sound like he's been shut out yet. It might happen later on, but
it works both ways as well, though, doesn't it? Like how committed is Hamilton to helping them improve their car? Like,
yeah, it sounds like they still are. Like they all still seem a little bit amicable, but some of the comments he makes in the press about his car being fine one day and then terrible the next, that's a little bit wrong.
But if you look at him last season when he wasn't leaving Mercedes, he was performing similarly. Like Russell out-qualified him last year. He didn't outscore him on points because Russell again made those mistakes, but Russell out-qualified him last year as well. And was that because his car was intermittent like it is this year? It actually feels like he's consistent in terms of his performance rather than it being the car. And I'm obviously defensive over George Russell.
Yeah, and obviously Hamilton's nearly 40 years old now. He's not going to be the sharpest in qualifying where it really matters.
Age got to do with it. Look at saying that though, interestingly, Alonso and Hamilton were battling it out in the pack, and they were talking about how great it was to have these guys still battling. And I was thinking, look at the front of the race where you've got Lando, George, Max, who are the future of the sport, who are jockeying it out for first. Why are you talking about these guys that are jockeying for 6th and 7th when you've got such good young talent at the front of the pack?
Yeah, I think that move to Ferrari, it might re-energise him, and his qualifying pace could come back. I really don't know, but I can't wait to see it. I will probably go from a Mercedes watcher to a Ferrari watcher just because Lewis Hamilton's there.
Yeah, I've obviously with George, I follow Mercedes very much now and did do because of Lewis, and was so glad that George was moving to Mercedes. It gives more interest. It gives more interest to more teams for me. And then when the 2026 regs come in, it's going to be even more interesting. So I feel more engaged with the sport now. I feel at the start of the season, you and I, James, both avid watchers of F1, it was just a procession and we didn't really have a lot to chat about. It was just Max and we were waiting on the driver lineups. But now cars are made upgrades. Maybe Red Bull have stepped off the gas because they're looking at 2026 and they're just going to go cruise control.
Carlos Sainz is lined up to go join Alex Albon at Williams, which will be good. That'll give them one of the best driver lineups on the grid. But yeah, the news, I think he was a little bit wary about signing the deal because Williams are a bit of a midfield backmarker team. They've given them, I think it's a 4-year contract, and after 2 years, if they're not delivered on their promises, he can walk.
What's his name? James something?
James Vowles.
James Vowles.
Ex-Mercedes, isn't he?
And under him, I think they've obviously turned a corner and they're doing better. And definitely having Albon really helps them. But now having I've heard rumours that it's like just a 1 year deal.
The one today was 4 with a 2-year split break clause, which would be good for both parties.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, better for Williams because he'd like to have his options open, I imagine, for the 2026 regs. Maybe he's looking to see how Audi do first year or something. I'm not sure.
Exactly. I think it couldn't work better for him.
Who are they dropping? Are they dropping the American?
Logan Sargent, yeah.
Yeah, I think he spun twice on Sunday. He just seems a bit out of his depth, to be fair.
Beyond the second driver, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then there aren't many other teams available, like obviously the RB car, the Red Bull second team, and then Aston Martin or Stroll Racing. And they're pretty set with Alonso and Lance Stroll. They're only ever going to have one seat available. I don't know how long Alonso's going to go for. I'm not sure how long he's got left on his contract. Do you know, James?
I think he signed another year.
Wasn't there something recently that he was sticking around for next year?
Yeah, I think he's signed another year deal. But Ocon's been dropped at the end of the year by Alpine, and the rumour is that Magnussen isn't staying at Haas. I'm trying to think what else is there. Tsunoda and Ricciardo both staying on, so that confirms there. And then it's the Mercedes seat, isn't it? They're taking on that 17-year-old Antonelli, I think is where they're going.
Oh, they are. That's confirmed, is it?
More or less, yeah. I think Toto said at the weekend that they only offered. I don't think they even offered signed a deal. They basically told him they were focusing on Antonelli. So we'll see how he ends up looking. 17-year-old in a Formula One race car. That went well the last time for Verstappen, didn't it?
Well, it did. Yeah, it did.
Was he that young?
Right.
He even been 60. He was silly young. He had to get some sort of special compensation.
Yeah, he didn't have a driving license.
Couldn't even drive.
No, in a Formula One car, he's fine.
Absolutely mental. All right. That's great F1 coverage. Let's go quickly onto the rugby, just because it was the final game of the season. I mean, we say final game of the seasons. We know for most of these club sports, final game of the season is just for club, and then it goes into international season. So they've got England specifically have got a tour of Japan and New Zealand coming up in the summer. So a lot of these players that were playing this weekend were also playing for places in the England squad. And Northampton Bath was the final. So when we last spoke, we had the semi-finals, Northampton Saracens and Bath versus Sale. And the two home teams did win, as we spoke about, real huge home advantage. But Northampton got the win, and it was quite good to have the best team for the season, the team that actually finished first in the league, win the finals. Which I was very pleased about. Although Bath dominated for a lot of the game, despite going down to 14 players, so they had a player red carded.
That wasn't it? Very high.
It was a very high, very physical tackle, and it was how Bath were playing. Like Bath were physically dominant. Sam Underhill, the England flanker, who plays for Bath, was just smashing people all over the field, and it was great to watch. But then Beno Obano took it too far, went too high, and got red carded for the rest of the game, and that swung it a little bit in Northampton's favour. But Bath actually were able to adjust their game plan, and it didn't look like they were ever really 14 against 15, but that does take its toll at some point. And the momentum was just swinging to and fro in the game, and I didn't know which way it was going to go. I really wanted Northampton to win because they played so well this season, and I spoke about like their similarities in their playing style with Harlequins. And I think it was like their coached moves, like their actual set plays that paid off for them in the end, and they got it done. But Bath looked like a team for the future. They've got a nice young squad. They're well within the financial salary cap. So I think they're going to be really strong over the next couple of years. So I think they're going to have many more chances. But with Northampton, they obviously had Courtney Laws, who's going off to France to play, and several other players that are retiring. So it's their kind of last. I don't want to say last hurrah. We'll say last hurrah instead. So really great that they got the win, although I don't think they were the best team on the day. Fortunately, having the extra man probably just got them over the line. But that's it.
Lots of positives for Bath to take forward, right? Like you say, young squad, finished on level points with Northampton and took them all the way with one less player in the final. So they must be pretty good about the immediate future.
Definitely. And to have like a world-class fly half like Finn Russell, the Scottish 10, in their team. They've got Ben Spencer, who's a number 9, who made England's current standing number 9, Mitchell, on the other side for Northampton, looked like he was second choice. So they've got a really great partnership there with Ben Spencer and Finn Russell. They've got a very solid pack. They've not lost many players. Like I said, they're well within the salary cap, so they can bring players in and strengthen the squad. They've got solid coaching setup. And Bath have got brilliant history in the league as well. They've won the league 6 times themselves in the last 25, 30 years. So they've got great pedigree too as a club. So that means that they obviously can attract good talent too. And have got a really nice home kit in blue, white, and black. So onto the internationals now for rugby. So all the international squads have been announced, and looking forward to that. So we'll cover that. We'll cover the summer tours in a few weeks' time. That will be happening at the same time with the Olympics at the back end of the Euros. So looking forward to that. It's going to be a good summer of sport, actually. Everything seems to be happening all at once this year.
Who are England playing?
Rugby, Japan and New Zealand. So really good tests. They've got a very young, inexperienced squad, but they've mainly picked on form, pretty much, which is really good. I mean, part of the reason why is because some of the players have been going off to France, ineligible, or are retiring. So it gives a lot of opportunities to some of these young, informed talents that are in the Premiership at the moment. Another club sport that is finished for the season, and we're now going into the internationals, is obviously the football. And into the Euros we go this weekend. It has finally arrived.
Scotland in the curtain opener, on the curtain raiser on Friday against Germany.
That's cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
I just stacked my fantasy team out with German players.
Have you?
Yeah.
Well, you can only pick 3, so I assume you've picked 3.
I've got 3, yeah.
You fancy them against the Scots, do you?
I actually fancy them to do pretty well in general.
I would say like consensus seems to have shifted on the Germans. Like they've gone from 2022 when they were a bit of a, I don't know, like they were viewed as coming to the end of a cycle, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like there's more positivity about them coming in.
They've just got some good players now. Like in the peak of their power, like Florian Wirtz is, the most wanted footballer on the planet, really, outside of the Mbappes. And they've got Nagelsmann now. They're quite settled. Obviously, they had a bit of manager turmoil during the last year, so I do fancy. I think Havertz is pretty much if he plays like Havertz should do, they'll do well. If he doesn't, they'll struggle.
And they've got that full Krug as an option if they do want to have a genuine number 9 up there.
Yeah, but they've still got some great players. I think is Tony Kroos playing in the Euros? Bowing out. They've got Wirtz. Obviously, they've got some good centre halves. Jonathan Tah still pretty well. Neuer's fit. So yeah, I mean, obviously Scotland's a good start as well for a team like Germany. You can play your way in.
Musiala's looking very good as well.
Yeah, exactly. Sane's there. They've got a lot of great players.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? The more and more you go through their team and their lineup, they actually sound very strong. Although I called for them to be the underperforming team.
Almost for them, yeah.
Yeah.
I stand by it. The pressure of being the host nation is huge.
You also said that Doku would be the top goal scorer, so I did stop listening to you after that.
I didn't say top goal scorer.
We said best player. Sorry, Doku.
I said Ronaldo would be top goal scorer, and you said, "Don't hate that."
Ronaldo scored twice against they were playing Ireland, but he scored twice in the warm-up.
Portugal looked the finished article.
I just feel like Ronaldo's 38.
Yeah. Why are you so hung up on age today?
I just feel like, is he there because he's Cristiano Ronaldo, or is he there because he's good?
What do you think? He's not there because of his form in the Saudi league, is he?
No, but he has scored a lot of goals.
Yeah, in the Saudi league.
Yeah, fair point. Okay.
Yeah, but he's also scoring in internationals.
He is.
He's never stopped scoring for Portugal. To be fair, we are talking about a generational player. His goal record for Portugal is actually crazy.
That's outrageous. Yeah.
But do these friendlies count?
Yeah. Well, if Pele's got anything to say about it, yeah, you train. He's
Did
got.
he only score in friendlies, Pele?
He only scored in training, mate. That's how he's got 900 goals.
Ronaldo's got 130 international goals in 207 international.
Damn
goals.
impressive.
But also the fact that he's got 207 international
Yeah.
caps is
Over
wild.
200 caps. Oh my.
200.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a good innings.
Um,
But yes, I'm excited to sit in front of the Euros. I will say I don't watch a lot of European football outside of like the big Champions League games. So it's always nice to see like some of these nations play and see some of these players that you hear about all the time, but like I haven't watched them play.
That is definitely part of it, and like the fact that you read stuff and listen to stuff in the build-up, and people will say, "Oh, this team, you should watch out for them." Like people have been saying about Serbia, like you guys mentioned. I think James, you talked about it on our show last week, and I've heard it a couple of times now. So I'm just looking forward to seeing them, to seeing what
Serbia like. Yeah, can't wait.
I know you're going to learn a lot from the Serbian league, probably more so from the Serbs that are playing around Europe. Similarly, like Hungary, Croatia, Slovakia, Austria, their main players are all obviously playing overseas and aren't playing in the home nation in the home league.
Yeah, I will say for England's group, we have 3 teams on paper you think we should beat, but there's 3 great strikers in those teams. So you've got Mitrovic, who obviously has the Saudi tax note, so his goals mean nothing. Benjamin Sesko for Slovenia, who is a £100 million player who's about to go somewhere.
He's sticking around. He's about to sign a new deal.
Yeah.
Okay, £100 million was what the price tag was, though.
Yeah.
And then Højlund, who was £72 million. Is he Danish? Højlund?
Yeah.
He's
Danish.
Or
he's got a Danish name and he plays for someone else.
I thought it was Danish, but
yeah, Højlund's Danish name.
Yeah. So
because there's Rasmus Højlund as well, isn't it?
That's my concern with England, given that we can't defend. We're going to come up against some decent strikers.
I don't know that I don't think it's that we can't defend.
We can't defend.
I understand what you're saying, but I think we can defend. But I think that we are almost choosing not to. Does that make sense?
It does, but we also... Yeah, I just think the defensive options we have, like Mark Gay, is going to be our starting centre half, who has not been to a major tournament before. He's been injured for a lot of the year at Palace. Obviously, he finished quite well, which is why he's in the squad. But Stones has a full season. Shaw's not going to play. Walker's a little bit injury prone. 2 bad injuries, and we are playing a very, very weak back line.
Yeah. We've got to do what Liverpool did 5 years ago, which is we're just going to score more than the other team.
And I'm a big fan of watching that.
We're happy to concede 2 or 3 goals, knowing that we'll score 3 or 4. And I don't know that is the Southgate mentality, but it needs to be, because that's the team he's got. And I think he has to adapt to that. Like he's kind of been forced to pick on form because of some injuries that have been picked up. Is Maguire actually injured? I'm not 100% sure. Did he want to drop him? And this is a polite way of doing it? I don't know. Right, Gui as a centre half then. Is he up to the challenge?
I think he's good. I just think that we're coming up against great strikers, and our defence is the big question mark. That is what concerns me. And we were talking about going all guns ho, and we'll score more than you. I've not really seen Southgate ever do that. We do struggle if we go 1 behind early. That's just my concern. That opening game we play Serbia first. Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
We go 1-0 down early, and then we are backs against the wall, and we can't break down 11 men behind the ball.
Yeah, I think obviously the Iceland game was a classic example of that. You were traumatized by James, but my issue is, and obviously the England defence is a big talking point going into this tournament, and people are saying obviously, I've listened to a lot of people's opinions over the last week or so, and that what I find people say is that, Southgate can't do anything about it because, these are the players that he's got. England don't have a fit left back, so what's he supposed to do? That's all fine. But the Gay situation and the fact that he's now having to come in for Maguire, is absolutely a situation that could have been avoided by blooding a younger centre half who was playing regularly in the Premier League earlier. And Gay fits that bill. If he'd have been depended upon during the qualification, then I think we'd feel a bit more confident going into this tournament with him there alongside Stones. But Southgate completely committed to Maguire, and now Maguire's not there, and now we have a problem. So it's I don't really feel like a team of England's calibre should be missing someone like Maguire as much as it feels like we are. He does feel like a big miss.
But what we were talking about with Maguire a year ago, this is mental.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was publicly backed by Southgate. He was only playing him to show that he publicly backed him rather than blooding somebody new. I also think that he's not handled the left-back selection very well.
Why hasn't he picked Chilwell?
Why hasn't he picked Tyrick Mitchell to take him into the squad? People that are fit and playing games are better than shoehorning a Trippier in at left-back for me.
But isn't that what we spoke about last week, is that the experiences with Trippier, and then you've got these other players that are there or thereabouts, but because you can't choose between one of the new ones, just going with the old experienced one, right?
But you think you should take at least one fit left back, and Shaw is not one. We've picked 3 right backs, 4 right backs if you want to class Joe Gomez as a right back, and
you make it sound so logical.
We've not picked a single fit left back. And we go, we're weak at left back. Yeah, no, of course we are. I just think when you're playing, I say round peg, square holes, whatever you want to say, square peg, round holes. But I want Trent to play midfield, so it doesn't work everywhere. But I just think the left back's a bit of a problem.
Yeah, so is that the solution then? Is that where we're at then? Is it going to be
with Trent?
Yeah.
I've gone the other way on that. I want Trent to play right back.
I want to play. If Trent plays right back and you put Joe Gomez left back, it's fine. But you can't have Trippier at left back and Trent at right back. It's not going to work.
Yeah, I want to play Trent at right back. I go back and forwards on this, and I wish Southgate had been more had more conviction on it and just kind of eased Walker out. I feel like we haven't done that, and Walker still performs to a high level in the Premier League for the best team in the Premier League. So I can see, I'm not going to say that he shouldn't be, that Southgate shouldn't have made this decision that he's made to stick with him, but I kind of wish he'd made a different one and kind of committed to an obviously incredibly talented player in Trent, and kind of had that in mind for the right back slots moving forwards. I don't think he's ever committed to him there. And now it feels like we're trying to fit him into the team in positions that he shouldn't be in, really. We talked last week about Trent in midfield, didn't we? And I think we all said, as soon as it gets intense in there against a good team, none of us feel very comfortable with him being there. So
we said what he'd have to do is play him there from the get-go, but now he's not going to be able to play him there from the get-go, so now we can't play him there at all, right?
Play him there from the get-go. That's the rumour, is that he'll start there alongside Rice.
Yeah.
You see Wayne Rooney's bit on the overlap today.
Yeah.
He essentially said he loves Trent, does things on a ball that no one else can do, but he would never, ever play him in midfield because he can't defend. With
Wayne Rooney's coaching career so far, I feel like we can only take so much of that. But everybody agreed with him. Lots of people agreed with him. And I totally see that point of view. I don't feel very comfortable with him being in there. And it's it's the one time. What my other kind of thought going into this tournament is around Bellingham. And the thing that Southgate has done with Bellingham, or looks like it is going to do with Bellingham, is that he's going to move him further forwards and he's going to play him where he's been playing for Real Madrid.
Yeah.
But the reason that he's playing there for Real Madrid is because they don't have a forward.
Yeah.
England have Harry Kane.
They don't have a forward, but they've also got the strength at the back. And that's what I feel like. He doesn't need to cover.
And the strength in midfield, they've got Cruz and Camavinga and Valverde in midfield as well. So they're obviously, what the point I'm trying to make is that Real Madrid moved Bellingham forward to solve a Real Madrid problem. Yeah. And England have ended up now moving Bellingham forward as well. But by doing that, they've created a problem for themselves in midfield. Like, they'd been working on Rice and Bellingham in midfield. I feel like that was the idea that England and the England coaching team had. And now they've moved away from it because that's what Bellingham's doing at club level. And I feel like the England have a tendency to go all in on what a player is doing at club level and assuming that they have to do that at international level. Trent is like the outlier there because he's asking Trent to do something completely different to what he does at club level. But
he's that good that he can step in and do that.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Trent's a world-class player, right? World-class players can do world-class things. If you drop him in midfield in a big tournament, he might step up and go, right, this is me, I'm going to dominate it. And I think that's what Southgate assumes is going to happen.
100%.
And I think Bellingham's going to be able to do the same because that is what he does for Real Madrid. But we don't need him to. I think Bellingham will be versatile, that we could ask him to do something different and he'd be able to do it. And I don't understand why Southgate is hesitant on that.
And you should, international teams have to ask that of their big players. Like Griezmann for France is the perfect kind of example of that. They asked him to play deeper, and because he's as good as he is, he's able to do it.
But is none of it player led though? Like in many other sports, and I think a lot about like transposing this to rugby is so much is player led. The way that they want to play and the way that they play best together.
It is in some instances. I think for Kane in it with England, it is player led. I think Kane wants to drop deep and get on the ball and do the things that he used to do really well for Spurs. But actually for England, we want him to stay further forward to give those players behind, like Foden, like Saka, like Bellingham now, I guess, like more space to operate. But Kane is still dropping deep for England. And I feel like, obviously, he's amazing for England. I'm not saying that he's not amazing, but is it what England need?
The good thing is, if you're playing Bellingham 10 and Kane does drop, is that we know that Bellingham can play up front now because he's been doing it and swap around. But if you put a Foden in there, which has happened in the past, like even in the warm-up games, Foden in 10 gets squashed because Kane comes too deep.
And Kane and Rice pushes too far forward. So
you have this 3-man box in the middle of the field, and none of them have any space.
Yeah. But I don't want any of that to sound like I am not bullish about England's chances, because I absolutely am. Like, I still feel like they have really good players and are absolutely one of the teams that can win this tournament. They need some things to go for them, and they need their big players to perform. And they need Southgate to make the right decisions when the times come in game. But yeah, I feel like they're one of the ones who can win it.
Agreed. We'll have to do a breakdown of the match next week.
Feels a bit stressful, doesn't it? And they've not even kicked a ball in the championship yet.
Yeah, it shouldn't feel stressful. It should feel exciting.
It is.
Yeah, and I think it is. I think
expectation. Expectation just leads to disappointment.
Yeah, and look, we're all long enough in the tooth. We've all seen enough international tournaments. So yeah, I feel like. Have you watched the Rooney documentary on the BBC?
Not yet, no.
Yeah, I'm saving it for tomorrow. That's like my build up. That is, but I was thinking about that team before because, like, obviously it was an incredible era for English individuals, not necessarily an England team, and just the fact, like, Sven being the manager at that time, and like, I definitely didn't look at football the way that I look at it now. I didn't think about football the way I look at it now. I didn't engage in conversations about football the way that I do now. And I just wonder, like, what the narrative was back then. Like, was it all about Sven's not getting the best out of them, or was it about the players not giving their all for England? Like, I can't really remember, to be honest. But yeah, I wonder what will come out of the wash from this tournament.
I feel like there's more diverse coverage now that we, like, podcasts weren't a thing then. And the variety of the podcasts that we've got, but then also
it was so tabloid led, wasn't it?
Yeah. So yeah, that is interesting. Yeah, I'd be interested to go back and have a look at some of the articles that were produced then. The last preview for the weekend will be US Open golf.
US Open, Pinehurst number 2 in North Carolina, I think it is. It's going to be a difficult one. I think the greens are lightning already. from what the practice rounds are saying. So I just want to see a proper like gritty major where someone with like 4 or 5 under wins would be great.
Scheffler favourite?
Scheffler is favourite.
Yeah, he is. Having won at Memorial. Actually, the interesting thing about Memorial is up in Ohio, it is a hard test.
Yeah, statistically, I think it was the second hardest golf competition on history behind one of the majors at Augusta.
So with Memorial, so much of Pinehurst is going to be about the greens, like good positioning, but also good putting.
But yeah, Pinehurst isn't just difficult greens; it's also really long. They have there's a par 4 that plays 529 yards, which is ridiculous. And anything left is like gorse bushes as well. It's not like a lot of US Opens. You'll see like super high rough, can't miss the fairway. Here, the rough is like off the fairway. They're like little bushes and sand pots everywhere. If you're in one of these bushes, you're like hacking out. There's no like, I can get it to the front edge. I just want to make contact with this ball. So yeah, played last time was 10 years ago. And the winning total was 9 under, I think. So it's been a while. It's quite a challenging layout.
Yeah, single figure under would be good. But yeah, it is the same. It's kind of been the same for the last few majors. Is who's there or thereabouts in terms of the odds. Is Scheffler, McIlroy, Morikawa, Schauffele. Anyone else, James? That's
I like Ludwig again. It's a ball.
Are you just saying that, or is he good for the course?
No, I think he's good. He's a ball striker's course, and he is just so pure. Like, I would love to see him go close again. I think it was second in the end at the Augusta. So, yeah, big one is Rahm's out. Weirdly, he turned up, did all his presses, didn't hit a single ball, did all his press conferences, and then was like, "Oh no, I can't play."
Was he hoping to make it? Was he?
I think so. Yeah. So he's got had some sort of problem with his foot. I don't know if it was an infection or what. So he's walking around with a flip flop on, like trying to keep it dry. Did his press conference. He went away to get some treatment. Came back out. I was like, "No, can't play." So his horrible year continues.
Yeah. It's not been good for him since he moved to Live, has it?
Really has to be some case studies done about getting that money and what that does to your mental. Do I want to go out and practice today? Not really. I don't really need to. There's 600 million in my bank now. It'd be interesting to see what that is. But I think Ludwig's my pick, and I just want to see some sort of competitive round out of Tiger Woods would be nice.
Speaking of like competitive round, I really want to go into Sunday with somebody like no more than 2 shots off Scheffler. Really, I feel like if he has any more than that, it's going to be hard to see him being reeled in.
Yeah, that's just how everyone feels about him now. A lot of the commentary has been about him being Tiger-esque. And I was like, no one will ever be Tiger-esque. But if you look at the stats, he's definitely very much close to what Tiger was doing in the early 2000s.
He is. Was Tiger winning?
Won everything.
7 out of 10 tournaments.
Won everything. Scheffler. Yeah, and Scheffler's doing it against a arguably more talented field, which is frightening. But he has the tech. The clubs are so much easier to hit. The ball's going so much further.
But that's the same for everyone. So that's not an advantage for Scheffler.
No, but the way he hits a golf ball should not result in him winning 7 out of 10 events. But yeah, I'm honestly so excited to sit there and take in the US Open, take in the Euros. It's just a good weekend to sit and enjoy the TV.
It is, yeah. It's very excited about it. I don't know who am I picking. Like I was having a think the other day, and I thought, could Rory never win a major again?
No, he'll win one. He'll win one by pure fluke, and then he'll win another one.
But it's been 10 years, James.
Yeah, but he's still the second best golfer in the world,
and he's not getting it done. He's on form. His form will dip.
Yeah, but he's still quite young though. Was he 40?
Is he 40? What?
How old's Rory now?
McIlroy's not 40.
How old is he?
Your issue.
I think he's the same age as me.
Oh, he's 35. Yeah, okay, right. Seems old. Have you seen his news about he's now not getting divorced?
Oh, really?
I did see that. Yeah, I did see that. I did think this is a week of backtracks. Eric Ten Hag, they backtracked on him. Now that they've not been able to secure Pochettino or anyone else, they've stayed with Eric Ten Hag. And McIlroy is obviously having not been able to find anyone else, has also backtracked to Spain with.
Well, there were so many rumours he was
that's
with one of the golf correspondents, wasn't it? And then
That's it.
me and my wife are going to be fine. Like, it feels like terrible timing for him.
I didn't realise that was going on. They're not long started a family, have they?
Yeah, well, they
hadn't, and then they entered his divorce papers just the day before or the week before the PGA.
Yeah, literally a couple of days before. And then he's come out and yesterday and said, no, we're all good. We're working on it.
Yeah.
It literally, we're all good. Like we've spent the last few weeks or the last month like working on it, and we've decided to give it a go for the benefit of our family.
You're going to get to he'll get to the Open in July and go, no, I'm getting divorced, actually. I'm going to play well this week.
Yeah. I've known loads of people row back from divorce and have successful relationships. Yeah, that happens really often.
That must be high stats for that.
1 foot out the door is a recipe for success.
Yeah.
We'll see. Eric Ten Hag's, though, his is an interesting one. It doesn't feel like the manager pool should be that difficult for Man United to acquire someone decent.
And they've been
reviewing, but they've reviewed his performance. Him winning the FA Cup must have been pivotal.
I think there's numerous factors here. I think the FA Cup win is a big one. I think the market is the other. But I think the third factor is don't underestimate their need for a scapegoat if next season doesn't start particularly well. So at the moment, it's better the devil you know with him. They've got so many.
I love that cynical view, Joel.
Yes.
It's true, though. They don't want to make all these changes. The manager's crap. They go, manager's crap again. But you see, like you talk about the manager pool, Brighton should have been able to pick a lot of managers. They're a good project. They've got money. They've got a good training base. They've hired a 31-year-old who's never really done that much.
So Brighton, though.
It'll be amazing. It'll be at Chelsea.
The most Brighton hire. I mean, I think they might have jumped the shark with this one, to be honest. A 31-year-old from St. Pauli.
Have you seen the way they play football, though? They're going to annoy a lot of people.
Oh, really?
They call it like defensive baiting or something like that. They play the ball along their back line, wait for them.
Villa do a bit of that. Not extreme, but yeah.
Oh, St. Pauli do it aggressively.
Oh, wow. Well, De Zerbi did it a lot at Brighton as well. So that's interesting.
I can't wait to see how that goes, especially with the terrible goalkeepers that Brighton keep putting in there.
Yeah, they really need a goalkeeper.
But yeah, I'm excited for the US Open. Joel, who's your pick?
I always want Tommy Fleetwood to win because I just would really love him to win a major.
So if you're talking about a pure ball striker, James, then Tommy Fleetwood's your man.
Absolutely. Did you see Tommy Fleetwood he sort of got the worst question ever today. I was watching a clip. He was doing an interview with Dan Rappaport, whatever his name is. He works for, and they're talking about obviously Tommy's stepkids. Tommy's stepson is 17 years old or something, and obviously Tommy's not that old. And Dan goes, "Oh, so you're more of an uncle vibe?" So not quite wanting to reference the fact that he's so much young, not that much older than this kid. I was like, you can't say that to somebody. But he batted it off really well. I was like, oh no, like I think he's known since he was like 5 or something else. He's been around there a long time. So he goes, yeah, definitely more of a fatherly figure. So yeah, but I love Tommy Fleetwood. I'd love him.
What weird question to ask a professional golfer the week of a major. You're talking about his stepkids.
Well, his stepson's a big golfer. I think he's quite a semi-decent golfer. Like Tommy's caddied for him and stuff.
Tommy's caddied.
Yeah, in like a decent
YouTube bits.
But yeah, Tommy Fleetwood would definitely be a popular winner.
So yeah, would love him to win.
Tommy, Ludwig, and who for you, Matt?
Oh, I don't know. I honestly don't know. I think Scheffler's got it in the bag.
He's the one
failing that. I think Schauffele.
Did Schauffele go close?
He won it. Yeah, he won the PGA in the end.
Yeah, and was he one of my picks for the PGA?
No,
he wasn't long enough
for the
Masters.
Masters, yeah.
Okay, had we have done picks for the PGA, I'd have probably because he's a major player.
He's always there. He's always top 10, isn't he?
You'll need ball strikers who have got a good short game. That's pretty much it. Because you'll be seeing some funky clubs being used off the greens. Like I've seen some of the warm-ups. They've got hybrids out, putters from way off the green just to try and keep them on the surface.
Interesting. Well, we'll see. So this time next week, we'll have kicked off the Euros, and we'll have a new major champion in the golf. So plenty to talk about, and more in the mix for the F1 as well, and loads more going on too. Obviously, the T20 Cricket World Cup is currently happening in the US and the West Indies, so maybe we'll have a little bit of a look at that. It's not worth looking at the moment. With
I guess they're still in like the long league format at the moment, right?
They are, and then they'll go into the Super 8s, so they'll go into the top 8 format, so we can give it a little bit of a view then. We've not spoken about the tennis, but obviously it was the French Open last week, and we're not going to talk about it now. But we'll be building up to Wimbledon, and I imagine we will talk about it when it comes around. So I think that will probably do us for tonight. Lovely to chat with you guys, and we'll catch up next week. If you have enjoyed listening to us, contact us at allsportspods@gmail.com. Like us on Spotify and subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks, guys.
Cheers, guys.
Bye-bye.